All right, it is Figgie and the Moose on this Friday right here on Pix 11 Plus. What's going on, Figgie? How you doing, bud?
I'm doing well. Enjoying the change in weather.
Yeah, it's a lot cooler outside, no doubt. And the Mets got another victory last night over the Atlanta Braves. Your reaction to what we saw last night in Queens?
Were you expecting anything less? I mean, come on. They're the Mets. They were going to be just fine.
Okay, yeah, all right.
Now, going into the ball game, obviously, Griffin Canning going down with a lower leg injury. They're going to have further tests. They believe it's an Achilles. Extremely unfortunate. Again, not an overly athletic move. It's that same look of what we saw from Halliburton and what we saw from Tatum, just that leaning forward just slightly at an angle, a little bit of instability in the back of the ankle area, and then the Achilles was injured. So it looked very similar to those. We don't know specifically as of yet. And again, another injury for the Mets. That's 3 pitchers in the last 2 weeks, 3 starters. Montas coming back helps. Manaea coming back this week helps. And then whenever Senga is available, those are 3 guys that are going to plug right in, and the Mets are going to try to keep on moving on.
Yeah, they're gonna try to do that. I thought the unfortunate injury with Canning, it looks like a significant Achilles injury. We'll see exactly what the MRI. Mendoza even talked about it after the game last night. You feel bad for him, who obviously revitalized his career this year with the Mets after what we saw with the Angels. But I thought after that injury, the heroes of the bullpen, I thought the heroes were the bullpen last night. Warren, Nunez, Stanek, and Diaz did an unbelievable job. And I think the flowers got to be thrown at Austin Warren for go out there and give 2 1/3 innings of work, just 2 hits allowed. After the injury, everyone is, as Mendoza talked about it after the game last night, it takes a couple of innings in order after you see that kind of an injury to get the energy back up in the dugout. Warren, I thought, was fantastic in the bullpen, which has been maligned for the last 10, 11, 12 games, has been an issue for this New York Met team. Last night, I thought they were terrific. So, we can look at, the Atlanta Braves lose a game 4-0. They had 3 hits on the night. The Mets had a number of guys on base throughout the course of the evening. Were able to scratch across and score 4 runs. Defensively, I thought they were rock solid. I thought it was a really crisply played, outside of the Canning injury, I thought it was a really crisply played game by the Mets.
Yeah, that was more of how you drew it up going into playing the Atlanta Braves this whole time, right? We talked about the 7, now the 10 games. Extremely important games to try and create that distance between you and the Atlanta Braves. And at the end of the day, you look at the 10 games that are now over, and the Mets are in first place. The Mets are still 10 games ahead of the Atlanta Braves. It would have been really nice if they were more like 15 to 16 games. But, you have to take the good with the bad. And there's always a stretch for every single team, because you go through so much in 162 games where things aren't going to go necessarily as well as before or as perfect. Injuries come up, but to survive 3 starters going down the way they went down. And I've been a part of that. And I got so many text messages last night because apparently Gary had mentioned me when Jonathan Neese had popped his hamstring, and I had to jump into the ball game. I gave him 4 1/3 of relief and was able to help the team because I got bombed as a starter 2 days prior, actually. But that was something that, I had really firsthand experience with of, kind of the lull of what's going on, the lull of everybody's concerned about, of course, Griffin Canning and his Achilles injury. After that, it's, we got to win this ball game. Let's find a way to win this ball, find a way to rally. A lot of traffic on the bases, which was a plus because we hadn't been seeing a lot of that. But, a couple of timely hits, sacrifice flies, playing the game the right way and finding a way to score 4 runs, which is really all you needed against the Braves team with only 3 hits.
Yeah, and now the Mets, go into Pittsburgh, take on the Pirates, and they're not going to see Paul Skeens. So right in a little bit with the back end of 2 victories back into the 4-game set against the Atlanta Braves, and it's a benefit to you now that you get the Pittsburgh Pirates, and you don't see one of the best pitchers in all of baseball as well.
Oh yeah, fingers crossed. It used to be like how Jose Fernandez always seemed to miss the Mets when he was alive and pitching for the Marlins. They got very lucky with that. But Paul Skeens, of course, he's kind of got a little bit of Jacob deGrom in him, where they don't score a lot of runs because they're the Pirates whenever he pitches, and he's must-see TV. So you can avoid him and get to the rest of that Pirates starting rotation and find a way to try to get right at this series this weekend and see if they can do that against Pittsburgh. Again, that's the beautiful thing about baseball, man, is that any team can beat any team on any given night. So you have to go out there and play to a level and stay at that level so that your floor is somebody else's ceiling.
Yeah. I do think the Mets, are going to need some improving here. I really do. Before the MLB trade deadline, we'll see what David Stearns and Steve Cohen do. The Yankees are back home tonight to take on the Oakland Athletics. And, reports New York Post this morning that they're eyeing a third baseman, potentially, moving Jazz Chisholm back over to second base, something I talked about a number of weeks ago when they made the decision to move back over to third. Is that Chisholm's just a better second baseman than he is a third baseman. So why go out there and address the area of need instead of trying to cover it over with a Band-Aid? I don't care how much easier it is to go out there and infielder as compared to a third baseman. If Chisholm's a better second baseman, go out there and get yourself a third baseman, Figgy. And it seems like the Yankee organization is kind of leaning toward that potentially, because I thought the infield defense was significantly better with Goldschmidt and Chisholm on the right side than it is with Goldschmidt and any other player they decide to plug in there.
Yeah, somebody with that kind of athletic ability to Chisholm, you want to maximize that, right? The hot corner is really a stand in place and, move quickly to try and get to the ball. It's a reactionary position, the hot corner. Jazz Chisholm, of course, with his range, he can do a lot of different things for you at second base, turning a double play. All those different things that you want to take advantage of. And, it's also for Jazz Chisholm, somehow when he plays the position, he hits better. And I don't know why exactly that is, or there's no real correlation. It shouldn't be. But I guess when you're, focused and overly focused about playing that position or vice versa, sometimes it takes the mental side of it, you can then just focus on hopefully a task at hand. Major league hitters are weird that way.
Yeah, no doubt. But I also think everything affects everything to a certain extent. You're not hitting, it can affect your defense. If you're not comfortable defensively, it could affect your offense. Obviously, a little bit focus on the area of where you're struggling could affect the area in which you're particularly good at. So, I mean, we've seen it time and time again, but both teams, both locals, the Mets and the Yankees, should be able to get healthy this weekend. A's aren't particularly good, and you look at the Pirates, they're not particularly good. So overall, this should be a good weekend for both locals after it was about a week and a half, 2 week stretch in which both teams really, really struggled. Yeah,
or do things continue on and you start to play down to the level of your competition?
You hope not.
You hope not. Again, the cream rises to the top for a reason, and they've played baseball too well, too long. And I think now that you kind of have those good feelings again, the Mets winning 2 in a row and, surviving some of the scares of injuries and not being able to drive in runs, having a lot of traffic on base, like we said about the Yankees the other day. They won 7-1, and on paper it looks great, but you're like 22 guys on base, and you weren't able to capitalize on it and do more damage. For pitchers, I know this, right? If the other team only scores 1, all we need is 2. Don't get crazy. Don't get greedy. Don't wear yourselves out rounding the bases and running the bases on a hot summer night. Let's save those runs for the next game, right? Because the next starter's thinking, man, why are we wasting all these runs? Save 5 of them for me. So I just think these teams are too talented to be this far along in the season. And yes, every team has its issues, but at the same time, there just has to be a standard, right? We talk about the identity of a team. We talk about the standard of a team. And I think I like what I've heard a lot from Mendoza speaking about the Mets and, what the expectations were, like the way that they prepare for the games hadn't changed. The way that they are executing, may have changed. But when you start to see some guys coming out of some slumps and guys, coming up big in situations like Pete Alonso, you hope that's kind of the spark that gets him, going again, because he was so hot for so long in the beginning of the season, and Soto's coming around. You would love to see it start to click a little bit more, and if they can get some length at the bottom on both teams, then it's the bonus.
And what are you expecting with Vientos in his return? Talking about that he was humbled before he went on the IL.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like, there is a comfort factor for a guy like Vientos that I've often spoken to him man to man about. Like, when you're a guy who is at AAA and you're putting up really good numbers at AAA, and you feel like all you need is an opportunity at the big league level, and you're not getting it. And each and every time that you get up there, you get sent back down, you're the odd man out. Like, that wears on you mentally and physically. It just wears on you, right? Because you're like, I don't belong in AAA. And just give me an opportunity to show what I can do. And he finally did that last year. So coming into spring training, it was his job. There was no question.
Yeah.
There was zero questions. Unless there was an injury, there was zero questions that it was his job. He wasn't fighting anybody. He wasn't fighting Beatty. He wasn't fighting, they weren't bringing anybody else in. They didn't go get, Bregman or anybody like that. So for him, he wanted to have that, and the way that he is, that quiet confidence, right? Like, everything is going to be okay. Like, if he was a guy that didn't show up to work at his craft, if he was a guy that wasn't taking ground balls anymore because he felt like he was a big leaguer, an established big leaguer, when you have less than a year in the big leagues, in total, then you would have concern. But, he was a guy that continued to work, continued to try to hone his craft to get better. And it was just kind of, we talked about it a little bit from time to time, just watching his reactions to things, right? Like, I wanted to see him get pissed off about striking out again. I wanted to see him pissed off that he left runners in scoring position. I wanted to see him pissed off that he made an error. And sometimes he had that quiet cool where he didn't want to show that, he didn't want to show that it was getting to him. So to hear him say that he was humbled, and to say that, maybe the best thing was the hamstring injury, because it got him to kind of slow things down, look at things a little bit differently, and things that you take for granted, you learn to appreciate them a little bit more, especially when you're in AAA carrying your own stuff.
No doubt about it. And we'll see Vientos making his return into the Mets lineup. And hopefully we get last year's version of Marc Vientos after he said, as Figgie articulated and talked about, he got humbled and struggled a little bit, not nearly the player. That would be a welcomed addition to a Met lineup that's looked a little top heavy to begin the year. We'll come back. We'll talk a little basketball, mix in a little Jason Kidd conversation. We'll do that next. It's Figgie and the Moose on this Friday right here on Pix 11 Plus. All right, welcome back. It's Figgie and the Moose on Pix 11 Plus. Marc Malusis and Nelson Figueroa with you. No show tonight at 7 p.m. Sports Nation Nightly, because we got a little NASCAR Xfinity Series race coming up on Channel 11 this evening, Figgie. But basketball, the NBA draft, first two rounds. Not all ideas are good ideas. The NBA draft needs to be two rounds on one night instead of 2 rounds on 2 nights. Because there was no atmosphere last night whatsoever out there at the Barclays. So I think that needs to come to an end. And I think you got to work on the broadcast team just a little bit. But we won't get into that necessarily right now. But you look at the impact of the draft, and the Knicks drafted. You saw 5 first-round draft choices by the Brooklyn Nets, and the Knicks drafted a French wing, Mohamed Diawara, who is coming over to the NBA, a guy that will fit right in, more defensive-minded. Would be a prototypical Tibbs player, even though Tibbs is no longer coaching the team, right? A good defensive player that can't shoot.
Yes.
I mean, he shoots about like 50% from the free throw line. He's got an ugly outside shot. He's got things to work on. So that's who the Knicks ended up drafting. He'll be part of the summer league out there in Vegas, but not exactly a pick that, and the Knicks are a good basketball team. Now it's a matter of finding a new head coach. As we saw Nico Harrison get asked about it. We saw Cooper Flag get asked about it, about Jason Kidd. There's still reports out there that his interest is he'd love to coach the New York Knicks. He's trying to get more money, I believe, out of the Dallas Mavericks. I mean,
no doubt.
Ultimately, that's really what it comes down to, where he's trying to get a contract extension like Billy Donovan did. He's trying to get a contract extension like like the Rockets coach did.
Rockets coach, yep.
Yep, no doubt. I think that's where we're at with Jason Kidd and the Dallas Mavericks here.
Yeah, it's reality television for us NBA fans, especially Knicks fans, because Jason Kidd is the name that immediately shot to the top of the leaderboard. But the problem was again, he was already under contract. He's already with a team. He was already with a team that was just about to draft the number one pick overall, generational type talent. And if you don't think they're thinking Jason Kidd is the right coach, then he would have been made available before the draft. Whatever it would have taken to make sure that they had a head coach at the draft that was going to be with the team, which it seems like a good idea, right? To have the head coach involved when you're drafting and whatnot. But that was a no-brainer of a first pick overall. So that was really easy. Whoever comes in or whoever was to replace Kidd, because that whole coaching staff, we've seen guys come in already. Dallas has hired some coaches. They've lost some coaches as well. So there's a lot of transition going on internally. I think they're still reeling about the whole Luka thing, even though this was the best case scenario for the whole thing, right? To have a 1.9% chance and 1.8% chance and end up with Cooper Flag is the best case scenario for them. For the Knicks, you can understand the reasons why there's a love affair with Jason Kidd, because of the player, because he's played in New York, he knows New York, he's had success, but is he? You look at his overall record, a little bit over 500. The Mavericks teams, Luka, was a one-man show that took them to the finals. I mean, I mean, look at that roster. Look at that roster. If you look at that roster, Jalen Brunson wasn't Jalen Brunson yet. Spencer Dinwiddie was there. Give me who was the other? If you can name the 5 starters for the Dallas Mavericks the year they went to the finals, they give you a prize. So I don't think that's a case of necessarily Kidd being a X's and O's coach and figuring something out. It's not a Steve Kerr situation where he took them, like he did with the Warriors. He had a team where they weren't able to get to that level, and then boom, Steve Kerr took them to the next level, and they were just it transitioned. It changed changed the team, for years to come. But I don't think there's a coach that's going to be able to do that. I don't have the foresight. I really don't. I mean, you look at when Miami had the big 3 and they went with Eric Spoelstra. What? How are you going with this guy in this situation? Well, because those players are going to really coach themselves. You need somebody that's going to be able to handle the X's and O's, because those players are so talented that they're going to handle.
But that's Riley. I don't think the Knicks have a guy on that has the vision in that organization that Pat Riley.
Right. Oh, no doubt. And that's why we're seeing this wide net cast, and they're trying to figure out who they're going to, hire as the head coach. And now you're hearing names that you've never heard before or marginally heard. And it's not something that puts a lot of confidence into a Knicks fan, because what the end result is. It's championship or bust. So Jason Kidd, again, I think it's just a play to get an extension and be around for at least the first 5 years of Cooper Flag's career.
Right. I think that's where we're at now. And we've had the discussions about which job is actually more appealing, the Mavericks or the Knicks, and especially Cooper Flag obviously changes a lot of that conversation. I don't know. NBA free agency gets going Monday night at 6:00. You don't get the sense that the Knicks are going to have a head coach by Monday night. It's just a very strange and odd way. Not that they have a ton of money to spend. They don't. But just a very, very odd and strange way to go about your business, because I would think that, and you're getting reports that, the new coach, longer, bigger rotations, player development, that, a greater connectivity with management, the things that you're seeing here, or the reports that you're seeing here in terms of what the Knicks want in their new head coach. Well, I thought it was championship or bust. I mean, isn't that the number one priority, going out there and winning an NBA title? So, those that go out there and tell you that the Knicks had some grand plan after firing Tom Thibodeau, or they're doing their due diligence, I don't think that's the case at all. I think it's more a case of the Knicks are now trying to clean up a mess. I don't think Jason Kidd's going to be the next Knicks head coach. And now it's a matter of, finding that next guy. Maybe it ends up being Mike Brown. Maybe it ends up being Taylor Jenkins. Maybe it ends up being Mike Inori. Maybe it ends up being somebody that we have yet to discuss and they have yet to interview. But it's an odd thing to go through the NBA draft, which came and went the last 2 nights, and NBA free agency get going by Monday, and the Knicks don't have a coach. That's odd. I mean, it's not really kind of the way that you want to go about your business.
No, no doubt. And I think that's something that, when you look at where the Knicks are and you look at, what are you trying to do? I think I just find it harder and harder to be a coach these days or a manager these days because, there's so much more involvement in everything else. The olden days, the head coach did what he wanted. He played the style that he wanted. He played the players he wanted. Right? Yeah. Now you're getting this kumbaya. We need bigger rotations. Yeah. Everybody needs to touch the ball. We have to have equal touches. You can't have your superstar touching the ball more than the center who has bad hands, bad feet. Everyone has to play. We're looking at like you're going from championship or bust mentality, killer mentality, like whatever it takes to win, to is everybody happy? Is everybody on the same page? Because if Worldwide West isn't on the same page as Tom Thibodeau, who's down in the front lines, then there's something wrong with the team. As we know, there were backdoor phone calls, during the trade deadline looking for players over Leon Rose's head. Like, what is going on with the Knicks front office? Because there's one thing to have a face, the guy out in front. But there's a lot of people behind, even for us, right? What we do, we get to do, and we get to do it and make it look fun and easy because there's a lot of people working behind us. There's producers behind the scenes putting together these shows and things for us that help us, allow us to be our best selves. So people don't know behind the scenes how many things are happening. And as a head coach, you've got to deal with the headache of, all right, I know what I want to do tonight. I know the matchups I'm going to try to exploit. Oh, wait a minute. Deuce McBride needs more touches.
Yeah, no, I know. It's a lot. It's too much of a collaboration.
It's just, I even like the exhaustion. It's a lot.
Yeah, it is a lot. No doubt. Well, we're out of time. Figgie, good luck with all your lessons, no doubt. Good luck with all your lessons today. You got it. Tonight we'll be back with you on Monday right here on Pix 11 Plus, and we've got the 7 p.m. show, Sports Nation Nightly. Make sure to check us out there each and every night, Monday through Friday, on Pix 11. Have yourself a wonderful
Moose. Yeah. 1 second. You would love this place. This is right up your alley. Let me show you something. So this place has been designed to look like Yankee Stadium with the facade.
Oh, look at that. Love it.
It's got all the great Yanks. There we go. Look, that's Thurman Munson's catcher's gear.
Beautiful.
Oh, yeah. Right up your alley. I'm here with a Yankee fan and surrounded by Yankee fans.
There you go. So, enjoy it.
Shout out to Dan Gray and Pro Swing.
Nice.
Up in Mount Kisco.
Don't throw out your arm today, all right?
Okay. I don't plan on it. I'll talk to you later.
I'll talk to you later. Have good lessons. This has been Figgie and the Moose right here on Pixel.